Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how top experts sell their ideas, their value, and their services. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees. Has anybody ever told you to get a clue? Well, I have the man, the myth, the legend, and the author of The Integrity Game, Mr. Jeffrey Klubeck. Get it? Klubeck. Get a clue? Jeffrey, welcome to the Selling Show.
Oh, thanks, man. It's wonderful. Let's get it going. This is going to be fun. I've been looking forward to it, David. Thank you.
Well, I want to ask you first, give us the Jeffrey Klubeck empire. Where has it been? Where's it going? How does it all work? And what brought you to the work that you're doing today?
Oh, man, when I find the empire, I will give you the directions, I promise. No, nice. When people say, Jeff, what do you do for a living if they don't know already? My answer is I wake up every day and I figure out how I'm going to help people, which is really like what I feel I need to do in order to deserve my wife and kids. Right? That's the empire is right here at home. It's my wife, Mary Ann, been in love since the late 50s, I like to say. The first time I kissed her was November 19th, 1991. And I'm a communication guy, so I'll let you do the math. And then we have 3 kids. We have AJ, we have Abigail, we have Brody, 3 kids and 2 dogs, Cookie and Bueller. So I'm a very lucky dude. I think I married up. Mary Ann is really like the Department of Planning and the glue that, the adhesive holds it all together. And then to feel like I deserve something like her and the family that we've created. I'm an educator. I got a master's degree in communication. So I was an adjunct professor of public speaking for 20 years. And I built this little get a clue practice. And it's kind of funny because it's like a defense mechanism, right? Get a clue, you're clueless. And so I came up with get a clue in high school. And I saw a friend of mine from junior high over the weekend that I hadn't seen in 32 years. And he told me I came up with it in junior high. And it's kind of funny, like if you kind of, make fun of yourself first, it kind of disarms other people from wanting to do it. So I kind of coined my name before other people could get to it with Clueless and other, teenage stuff. And anyway, so it all started back then. Get a Clue was the name of an editorial on the sports page of the newspaper. And I would write opinions on the sports page to create some controversy and sell some advertising. This is kind of like my thinking back in the day in high school. Anyway, so I started Get a Clue as a personal professional growth practice. I learned how to coach, consult, teach, train. I'm a soft skill guy. So Get a Clue was formed right around somewhere in 2006, started making money in 2007. And it's taken me around the world delivering soft skills, whether it's through coaching, consulting, training, info products, speaking. I'm all about motivation, accountability, getting people engaged in what they're doing. And communication is the secret sauce for all of it. So it's kind of funny too, because, the riches are in the niches. You've heard that before, right?
Oh, sure. Totally.
So people say, what's your niche? And I go, it's communication. How's that for narrowing it down? But that's what it is. Communication pervades everything. And so I do my best to help entrepreneurs and small business owners and micro business owners and top producing sales professionals and life service professionals. And you may ask me about the integrity game later on. We're moving into associations and corporations, but that's a nutshell.
Yeah. How about that? Well, communications is leadership. Communications is sales. Communication is teamwork and innovation and collaboration and all of those things. So I totally get where you're coming from. I love that. Now, you mentioned that it only took you 1 year to start making money. Dude, it took me like 3-4 years to figure out how to even make a living at this crazy
I'm sorry.
thing.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Let's keep it real. Earning income, like getting income. That doesn't mean I was making money or paying myself.
Right.
Or I'm sorry. Let's be clear. The amount of revenue you are generating, it's not the same number as the amount of money you're making. And that's an interesting lesson for, solopreneurs and micro business owners. When you're cutting your teeth on pricing and menu and what does it cost me to bring my product or service to the marketplace? So what do I need to charge for it such that I can leave some in the business and pay myself? And, it takes a while or a different level of time for some people to make those calculations. But yeah, no, I earned my first income as a coach in 2007, I want to say. I formed the C Corp, because I had a direction that I was heading in. But I can close my eyes and see the first check made out to Get a Clue. That was in January of 2007. We'll never forget it.
So you and I are both in the 15-year overnight success club.
Yeah. Spent a month here one day.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I really love it. Well, tell me a little bit about the different revenue streams. You kind of mentioned them quickly, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
What are the different things that you sell? What are some of the sales channels that you use? How do you generate leads? And then also later, I want to talk about this anti-niche thing because I think that's fascinating. But give us what are the various profit centers and products and services that you offer?
Yeah. In an ideal contract, they'll all combine a little bit. You follow. In an ideal contract, the ideal client will want all of it. However, it's important on both sides of the desk for the consumer, for the person that's wanting to grow personally, professionally, but also for the provider, because here's the distinctions that I make. Coaching, somebody hires me for coaching. Coaching is where we come together and we talk, but then you go do the work.
Amen.
Okay? So it's your goals, it's your commitments, it's your level of activity, and it's me engaging you, motivating you, and holding you accountable. That's coaching. So we come together and talk, but you go do the work. Consulting, however, is where I have a deliverable. So let's say there's a micro business and they don't have an HR team and they need performance reviews conducted. Now I have a deliverable. Or they need to set up their org chart and position descriptions and renovate their strategic staffing process. Now I have deliverables. Or they need me to shadow the leadership team in the meetings to come up with an. If I have a deliverable, if I have work to do, right, that's a distinction between coaching and consulting for me. Then training is everybody's working, right? Training, the focus is different. Rather than one person's goal achievement, it's one person's ability or a group's ability to do something they couldn't do. So if I'm training you, other than the goals for the training, the rest of your goals, aren't really the focus or the epicenter of the work. The work is your ability to do something forevermore that you couldn't do or do as well leading into the training. So if I train a speaker, train a coach, train a leader in how to build rapport, conduct performance reviews, on and on. So a soft skill, I have a library of 100 different soft skills that we can come in and we can provide soft skill training. But you probably know training is in one ear, out the other, unless it's followed up with coaching and reinforcement. And let's make sure we're implementing, et cetera. That's what I meant when these things combine. Now we're really, coverage and increasing the chances that people will actually grow and the content sticks. That's the fun part, is that content is usually the overlap between I have to have content and coaching. I have to know my stuff if I'm consulting. And there's always, content is some sort of epicenter of a training experience as well. The training has stuff that coaching and consulting doesn't have: homework, exercises, assignments, competency. You follow towards a competency. Coaching may not have competency. May or may not have assignments and assessments, et cetera. And then info products, it's, those are what I call one player game where, you get it, you can consume it. Where training is a multiplayer game, coaching is a 2-player game, unless it's group coaching, then a multiplayer game, et cetera. So I'm starting to describe these things with the creativity of game and integrity game and so forth. But I think those are important distinctions for a practitioner to understand. When you're diagnosing, when you're discovering how best to help somebody, it's like, ooh, you might need some coaching, but it sounds like you need some training, that type of thing. And if either side of the desk is confused about what they're really getting or what the real opportunity is or how to get somebody their desired result, you and I both know there's a lot of broke coaches out there.
Oh my gosh.
And it's because they don't know how and when to pivot to consulting or training, or they don't know how to enroll people in coaching in the first place, let alone. And we can talk for days and days and days about that. But I hope that answers your question for now about the distinction between what I would consider you to be menu offerings on a personal and professional growth menu. That's
yes.
my menu.
Totally. Well, and again, you are totally speaking my language because I'm an old school gamer. So Atari, Nintendo, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Asteroids, all that jazz.
Pitfall, Frogger.
That's a one player. Oh, totally. Yeah. Totally. Frogger, absolutely. 1-player game, 2-player game, multiplayer game. I am picking up exactly what you're laying down. That's great.
Awesome.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about this anti-niche.
Yeah.
Because, the traditional wisdom is you're either known to a certain group, like let's say dentists, and you can do lots of different things in a dental practice, or you're known for something. For example, sales training. Lots of different people might need sales training. You're like, you know what? I am known to a wide variety of people, and I'm known for a wide variety of things. How do you do lead generation, prospecting, when you have a very broad target market, it sounds like, unless I'm wrong, and a very broad and deep set of offerings?
There's a lot of answers to that. So not anticipating the question in no particular order, I'll start responding with some things. My favorite way to generate leads is to be myself. Okay. So what I mean by that is I have a master's degree in communication. I was an adjunct professor of public speaking. I'm not shy about speaking. And you grew up gaming. Well, I grew up, in the 80s also when cable television delivered stand-up comedians into our home every day for the first time. Wow. So Gallagher and Richard Pryor and Robin Williams and Billy Crystal. And so I've got that in me and it comes out in the speaking. I realized as a professor that, especially in a subject like public speaking, they were terrified anyway. First of all, they're college students. They're disengaged. Second of all, public speaking, now they're terrified as well. So I happened upon a stand-up comedy kind of jovial, jackassy kind of delivery mechanism that's natural for me, fun for everybody. And I realized it's a Trojan horse. So people would come to class because they knew that they were going to laugh. The next thing they knew, they were delivering speeches that they thought they were going to drop out before they had to give, right? So humor is the Trojan horse. I love the concept of Trojan horse when it comes to learning. It's almost like when you tell somebody they need to learn something, automatically ego defense kicks in. No, I don't. And the reality is that they do, but somewhere they're resisting, right? So if we tell, hey, let's talk about a story or let's tell a joke. And if there's learning embedded, that's a better jam than the stuffy academic paragraphs and charts and statistical analysis and verbose language. And I'm capable of all of that. I wrote a master's thesis, right? It's the most fun I never want to repeat. Anyway, speaking. So I love to speak. I built my career going to speak at, networking events, and then I would offer 2 complimentary coaching sessions. And then people would take me up on the sessions and I would deliver sessions, enroll people in coaching, and then it would go word of mouth from there. There's a whole trail there. So like one speaking event, volunteering to speak at a real estate event, to 40 people, 5 people respond to the 2 free sessions. 2 of them actually go through with it and they both enroll. Then they're both happy and then they refer 2 people. And now you got to, some thousands of dollars worth of business right there. Plus you did well. And then you've got pictures and videos and so forth of you speaking at the event. So that's organic, right? That's my favorite. I'll tell you, when you went the other way around, marketing PTSD, I've got my share of challenge stories about where, you want to invest in something funnel based. Let's get the website and the membership site and let's build courses and, that whole thing, right? And I see your face right now. For listeners, you may not be able to see it. You're feeling it yourself. Feel your face right now, listener. But how many times has somebody that specializes has a niche in marketing and they've sold you what their niche is without telling you that niche needs to integrate with all the other niches in order for the dang thing to work? And now it's like they've taken you in a rocket, flown you up to outer space, let you go spacewalking and they go down back to earth and you're floating up there wondering, how is this thing that I invested $10,000, $20,000 in actually going to work? So I'm careful nowadays about chasing the latest, greatest, flashy, whatever, whiz-bang, gizmo, hack strategy, blah, 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 blah. That's why I've gotten into writing books in the last couple of years. I think books are fantastic to get more speaking gigs, and then they buy the book. And then in the book, you can get calls to action and there's more of a credibility thing. And I don't know if I'm answering your question. My favorite way to build leads, no matter what, is to speak, because that's I'm in love with that space on stage where you get to make people laugh and laugh their way to some learning and then be the person. I'm not for everybody. My flavor isn't for everybody. I'm kind of fast paced and humor-laced and in your face. But the ones that resonate with my style are really going to want to be online with me. They're going to want to be in mentoring. They're going to learn from me more. So I'm a big fan of organic than mass. But that may change.
I love that. I love some of the things that you said about fast-paced, humor-laced, in your face.
That's right.
It has a nice ring to it.
Thank you.
When you were going back to college students 2 minutes ago, you said they are disengaged and terrified. That was my first marriage. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm only married one time to an amazing woman also. And I love what you said about your family too. I got to give you props for that. I have never heard that, by the way, that, what is the whole purpose of the empire? The purpose of the empire is my family.
Yeah.
And that's amen times 10. Amen.
That's 10. That's number one. As a matter of fact, my son was invited to go play baseball this Friday, and there's whatever's on my calendar. I'm going to cancel it or reschedule it because, family first, especially at this crucial time. I can speak and make money and write books anytime, but my son's only going to be a 17-year-old baseball player with colleges looking at him once. now. And so all hands are on deck right now, family first. And, we just got to keep our health together for the empty nest so we can really finish off, our working years into the golden years and on and on. So that's the big plan. So everything is really to fuel and lubricate our kids, having an easier path, being better off in their life than my wife and I were, and my wife and I making sure that we're not dependent upon them in any way when we reach, so that they could just be our kids. I had to be the caregiver for both my parents who died 3 weeks apart at the end, and it's not fun. And I wouldn't wish that on my children. So really with this, all of the professional stuff, I like helping people, but secure your mask first. Let's be clear.
Yeah. Secure your mask. Right.
Trying to set up my family first, and then I'll have a lot more bandwidth to help others.
Totally. I want to talk a little bit, because one of your many areas of expertise is influence and persuasion. Mm-hmm. And you already dropped some value bombs on us about, number one, be yourself. Number two, be warm, be approachable, be human. One of my favorite sales mantras is, don't worry about being a better salesperson, be a better person, and you'll make more sales. So talk about what are some influence and persuasion strategies that you teach your clients so that they truly stand out in this kind of hyper noisy, crazy social media universe that we're in?
Yeah, this is how long do we have?
We have 3 days. 3 days.
Okay. I will start ordering Uber Eats now and make sure that they deliver to my desk instead of the front door. I tip extra for that, because we could talk about this for a long time. We're opening, because you talked about, communication is, leadership is communication, team building is communication, on and on and on. Well, it's not. It's not communication. It's effective communication. Yeah. There is a difference between communication and effective communication. So if we want to be influential and persuasive, we have to focus on what's the difference between communication, because jealousy, anger, hostility, verbal aggression, stalking, bullying, that's all communication too. And a lot of it is persuasive and influential, right? So there's a proper way to do things. There's a healthy way to do things. If I had to start somewhere, it all comes down to pleasure and pain, right? So pleasure and pain. Number one, if the person that wants to be of influence does not take the time to really understand what counts as pleasure and pain for the subjects, the targets, the people, right? Because most people in sales, they're autobiographical. They're approaching their job autobiographically. I have to do sales. I need to make money. I need to be the best salesperson. I need to beat Joe for the parking space this month. I need to get my boss off my back. I need to pad my numbers. I. And it's no different from sales and public speaking. Very similar, right? It's not about us. It's not about us. So like the very first thing, and, I did a little flyby coaching video on this, the concept, I came up with the term autobiographical. We don't want to be autobiographical. We should be biographical or autobiographical. So the difference is, right, my biography, the autobiography is a story I wrote about myself, but the biography is a story I can write about you. And I can only write a story about you if I take the time to get to know you, if I have techniques to pull information out of you, if I know what to ask, if I am listening carefully, if I appreciate what I'm hearing, if I'm not defending my ego just because you might say something, right? It's a selfless process to get out of our own needs, get out of our own interests, and trust that they'll be served if we really, really, really concentrate on helping the other person. Now, what counts as help for the other person? It's either get them towards pleasure or get them out of pain towards pleasure. So everything that we're doing from a sales perspective, if it's not focused on that movement towards pleasure and away from pain, we might be wasting our time. Right. And so we don't want to assume that somebody's in a certain pain. We want to find out. We don't want to assume that they want this. We want to find out. Like you've heard in corporate, I'm sure a million times, or told people, money isn't the only form of compensation. Right. You've heard that. Right. Oh, yeah. Sometimes they want recognition. Sometimes they want the title, or they want a different office, or they just want their birthday paid day off. They don't need a raise or a golden handcuffs. They just want a pat on the back, or they just want their voice to be heard, or they just want a seat at the table. You follow? So if we don't take the time to figure out what people really want, what people really need, what they think they need, what they think they want, and peel the layers of the onion to help them understand the difference, that's one of the things that's really helped me. When I mentioned these 2 complimentary coaching sessions that I offered to build my career, I still do it, but I train other coaches to provide them now. And in certain situations, I'll handle it, but I train other coaches. But there's a lot of reasons it's 2 sessions, but one of them ties into your question. how on earth is anybody going to hire me as their coach unless I work, systematically, productively, authentically towards real understanding of who they are and what they want? Who are they and what do they want? Without assuming, without projecting it onto them. But am I creating a situation where I can really verify and arrive at a knowing for myself who this person is and what they want? Now, what's magical about that is that in the process of me finding out, they might get to know themselves a little bit better than they knew themselves before because they'll hear my feedback. Because most people beat themselves up. But when, it's a refreshing thing when somebody comes and shows you that they believe in you in some way that you don't believe in yourself. That's really cool. But the other thing is they might get more excited about what they want by the process of having to tell me what it is they want, right? Maybe they didn't know. And now in the process of talking to me, now they get a little bit more clear, a little bit more crystal clear, right? On what they really want. Now, if I've gotten to know you and gotten to know what you want, and you get to know yourself better and get more clear on what you want, now I've got 1/3 of the puzzle down, which is engagement. I've got you engaged. You should be engaged in what you want. I might even have your permission to lead you there after I do that much work. So, there's the old story about the bulls up on the hill looking down the pasture of cows, and the young bull says, let's go down there and let's run down there and get one. And the older bull says, no, let's walk down and get them all. So anybody out there that's rushing in to get a sale without taking the time to learn who they're selling to might struggle. And I'll start there. Let's understand pleasure and pain. Let's understand autobiographical versus biographical. And let's have a buyer-graphical approach to our solutions. There's a lot of literature out there that says you're not a salesperson, you're a problem solver. So, we have to figure out what is the real problem that somebody's having. I have a problem getting to more pleasure, or I have a problem with all this pain. All right, now can I lay out a path? Can we diagnose or discover, get agreement on where the person is, where they want to be? And if we get agreement on that, now they might listen more if I lay out a solution from A to B.
Yeah.
So I'll stop there unless there's follow-up questions there.
No, you have got 3 days of answers. I've got 3 days of questions. Hey, if you're loving this episode as much as I am, pop over to doitmarketing.com/manifesto and get your free 37-page download guide to how to sell smarter, sell more easily, sell more often. That's what we're here to help you with at The Selling Show. Off you go. I want to go back to what you said about the 2 coaching sessions, because I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of coaches and consultants. The ones that offer a session, it's 1 session. And you said there's lots of reasons that I do 2 sessions. Lots. Tell me about what is that relationship that builds from session 1 to session 2? What feelings or emotions or intellectual ahas do you want people to have over the course of that 2 sessions? And then I'm asking 17 questions all at once.
I've got them all.
What is the bridge between what was the most exciting, meaningful part for you, et cetera, kind of debrief the coaching call, and then the invitation to the next step? How do we bridge that? That's question number 17. But until we get there, tell me why 2? What happens at the 2? Is there any drop off between 1 and 2? And what are you hoping that the double whammy strategy will engender as far as value to the client, to the buyer?
All right. So my master's thesis was on whether or not students would be willing to take online courses. In 1998, I used diffusion of innovations research, the body of literature that studied what are the factors and dynamics that determine rate of adoption for a new idea, product, service among a population, right? Are you ready for all that? That's all the acronym. So I thought, well, what if the new idea is an online course? What then? Right. And that's what I went into experiment. And I did, 279 subjects, 8 experimental conditions, 2x4 factorial analysis, blah, 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 blah. What I remember from the literature is this. There are 5 attributes of an innovation that are related to rate of adoption. 4, the literature told us, were positively related, and 1 negatively. So the negative was complexity. Okay. So if somebody perceives something to be complex, rate of adoption goes down. Okay. But among the 4 that are positively related, 1 was trialability. I can tell you what the other 4 are, but 1 is trialability, risk-free trial. So these people out there that say, all right, I'll give you a free coaching session so you can try it risk-free, and that's only half a loaf. right? It's like you get credit for understanding that you want to, induce reciprocity, give something free. You're kind of making it risk-free. But what people who are doing one comp session aren't controlling for is the confusion, right? So if somebody wants to like, oh, I'll give you a free complimentary coaching session in 30 minutes. Okay, great. That seems risk-free. It seems easy to fit into my schedule. Complimentary. Okay. But first of all, you go in knowing you're going to get pitched if there's only one, right? You know that. So now your guard is up waiting for the pitch. And then when the coach is trying to coach and actually give you some real coaching value, if they care, they're actually going to try to give you some coaching value. Not going to be able to do that, build rapport. And then you're not going to be able to dive down to get to know somebody, build some rapport, deliver some coaching value. And then what's that behind you? What credit card do you want to put this on? Right? If the coaching has any value at all, you're teasing with 30 minutes. You're probably more likely confusing somebody. You follow? It's like shaking up a can and opening. You got to let it settle before you can actually consume it, on and on. The other thing, there's all kinds of other things there that are failing about this. Now, I've studied this. I'm not going to name names, because I don't think what I'm saying is disparaging. Let's just name a name and give him the credit that he deserves, right? Tony Robbins, okay? Huge pioneer in our industry. He had leaders blazing the trail before him. He always gives credit to Jim Rohn and others and so forth, right? But what I'm getting at is if you fill 10,000 seat stadium and everybody signs up for a free coaching session, now you have to employ a telemarketing center and you're hiring salespeople to process all of those leads, deliver all those comp sessions. And now somebody may or may not sign up for coaching because it's Tony Robbins coaching. Now they're going to go and say, I got Tony Robbins coaching. And a lot of people buy it because they want to tell people that they have a coach rather than actually change their lives, right? That's not Tony's fault. That's you follow. Tony's done such a great job building what he's done. That's a mass leads, right? But other times people go to a networking event and there's 60 people there and they offer a little thing of a free coaching session that gets raffled off at the end. Have you ever been in those situations?
Oh, yeah.
And so, hey, congratulations. You just won a complimentary coaching session with ABC Coach over here. Those never get scheduled or used, right? And if they do, here's what happens. I call it ED, enrollment dysfunction. Right. So on the one hand, I've experienced those boiler room telemarketing sessions. Like the guy is a salesperson and the call's scheduled at 10 and he shows up at 10:04. Right. And as soon as he gets on, he's breathing fast because he just finished the previous call because he's got 16 in queue that he needs to get through that day because of all the lead gen. And I hear all the noise with all the other people in the phone room, in the phone bank. So I hear all the background noise. This guy's 4 minutes late. This isn't Tony Robbins' fault, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But when it's a mass lead gen, turn and burn, law of large numbers, we'll get our revenue with the law of large numbers, right? That's one end of the enrollment dysfunction. So like that'll work but I was studying coaching. I learned coaching. I know a thing or two about sales and communication. So that guy wasn't going to be able to enroll me in 26 minutes. You just say, hey, what's this behind you? Take out a piece of paper, write this exercise down right now. What credit card do you want to put this on? Sorry, bud, you were late. You don't even know who I am. You're not going to be the coach. You're a sales guy, not a coach. No offense, right? I'm not judging that, but that's one end of it. The other end of it is where they schedule a 30 or a 45-minute call for a free 45-minute call, free 30-minute call. You get on, hey, how's it going? And they build rapport, and then I'm joking, I'm smiling right now. This isn't everyone, but they managed to get the prospect into a psycho emo rabbit hole. And that prospect is looking over their shoulder because it's 11:28 and there's 2 minutes left. And we're at a point in the conversation where now they're not hearing it because they're looking over their shoulder. I think, hey, I thought this was just 30 minutes. And now I don't want to be rude and cut you off because you're running your process. So much coaches, many coaches, this is a problem in the industry. They go to coaches training, but those coaches training programs aren't doing a good job teaching people how to build coaching practices. So there's a lot of young coaches, new coaches, not young age-wise, but newer coaches, I should say.
Right.
They're trying to follow some process that they learned in their training, right? And now their nonverbal communication isn't authentic. The prospect on the other end feels the stunted nature. I've tested this. One time a woman said to me, oh, hang on, I'm just going to skip that part. And I'm like, excuse me, what part?
Oh,
to point out that you are not engaged with me.
Yeah.
You're following your thing. You're not ready yet. You don't trust yourself enough to be yourself yet. So I'm not poo-pooing any of this. I'm just telling you, these things are not for me. Then it's just, well, how about I just, right? You've heard this before. Well, we're running out of time. Well, how about we just continue next week? And like, why? So you can finish your process that you didn't finish? right? It's like, oh, well, how about I just coach you for free for 3 months? And then when it works, you'll refer people to me. Like, you must be out of your mind. Sounds good in your head at the time. But now what? Now the person's not paying, so they have no incentive to show up. Person's not getting paid, so they have no incentive to show up. They're both canceling on each other, and they've just created a dysfunctional relationship that lives on the dark side of the moon from accountability.
Yeah.
Now, back to the bridge, right, between ones. So what do? I engineered a process. I thought about this. Now, moreover, the other thing that created the incentive, I told you about my family and my wife. I remember when my wife came home, I said, honey, I enrolled in coaches training. You did what? It still pierces my ears to this day just thinking about it. You did what? Uh-oh. And now I got to explain to my wife that, no, this is going to change everything. What's coaching? Are you kidding? Right? I got it. Hey, if I learn that, I could be good. Well, I thought I was 8 weeks away. They said, hey, Jeff, if we need people like you to coach our real estate clients and go through the coaches training, and you'll be coaching our real estate clients. So you know what I thought? I thought I would be the best student. I know how to be a student. I got a master's degree. If I'm the best student, I'll get the leads. And if I get the leads, or I actually thought they would assign people to me. Can you believe that? Like, I was actually not dumb enough. I won't say dumb enough. I'm kinder to myself. I was ignorant at the time. I just didn't know that it's basically an eat what you kill industry coaching. Okay. But I was thinking, hey, if I just buckle up, tighten the belt for 8 weeks, I'm 8 weeks away from being and no, it was, what do you think happened, Dave? I was able to do free sessions with all of the people that they couldn't enroll already. Oh, let's see if Jeff could enroll them. So I'd say, hey, welcome to your free session. And they'd say, well, this is actually my third one. I'm like, that's funny, because my training is teaching me that I should be able to enroll anybody inside of 45 minutes if I just follow this script. So you're saying that you've had 3 sessions already and now I'm your 4th or whatever? Now I'm sensing that something's out of integrity with the training that I'm getting. Now I'm in trouble because my wife's going to divorce me if this coaching thing doesn't work out. So I actually woke up at 3:30 in the morning saying, oh man, it's got to be 2 sessions. I have to be able to take my time, however much time it takes. And I created, it all came to me, it came to me a 2-session process. And there's still a lot more reasons I haven't talked about why. But the amount of time I wanted to take to build rapport, to really get to know people, I'm an empath. So I realized if I can ask good questions and get people talking for 15, 30 minutes, I'm going to feel them in a way where I'm going to be able to feed back to them what I'm hearing, where they'll get excited and empowered. I've done that all my life, naturally, right? But now I've got some technique to it. The other thing is that, so the first thing it starts with is rapport. You got to build rapport, and not from the sales thing rapport. Like a lot of bad salespeople say, oh, go into their office, see the picture of the fishing chip on the desk and say, oh, you like fishing too? That's not rapport. Rapport is real appreciative inquiry, and really, taking the time to ask questions and listen carefully to the answers, feedback on what you're hearing, ask follow-up questions, and really come to a sense of being on the same page with somebody. Then after rapport, you have to, like I said, pleasure and pain. I have to figure out what's going on for this person, pleasure and pain-wise. So you ask a question like, what are 3 things in your world that have to be different than they are today? Which nobody ever asks anybody, right? It's the first time they've ever heard that question. So now you need to help them get into their head and find answers and come up with 3, and ideally to the exclusion of all other things. What are the 3 things that can't stay the same way they are today? And if I can get a label, once you label something, you can work with it. So if I can get a term, a label, because in their mind, it'd be like, well, it'd be a story, right? If I can get from story to a label, now we can work with it. And then when I get identification and agreement on the 3 things that they need to be different, now I just run that through a smart goal setting filter, and I give them an assignment to draft their goal. So that's part of one of your other questions, the bridge from the first to the second. Yeah. So what's the difference is now, let me use sales technology, right? You can tell us, what is a test close, David? What's a test close?
Test close is when you ask what sounds like a closing question, like, does what we talked about so far make sense? Does this sound like something you want to do? Those kinds of things.
Well, how about like, hey, I would like to give you an assignment to draft your goals. Is that something that you're willing to work on in between the first and second session?
Yes.
So right. So now are you coachable? Are you willing to do homework? Do you know that when you hire me, you're going to have homework, that you're going to commit to things in one session that you're going to be held accountable for in the second session? So my point is back to trialability, right? You ever walked into Baskin Robbins, without the pink spoon?
Right.
Right. And there's not 1 or 2 pink spoons in a whole bucket. You can taste as much as you want, because they know if once you taste it, you get a real taste, you're going to buy. So for anybody out there that says, oh, accountability is really important, but you're not offering an experience of accountability in your trial, then you're not offering a trial. like accountability is at least 1/3 of what I offer as a coach, at least a third, closer to half of what I offer in coaching, my coaching methodology that I teach people and train people on, and that I've used all the years to become a world-class coach. So I thought it's very simple. They need to commit to something in the first session that I then get to hold them accountable for in the second session. I remember one of my great friends, Brian Chachel. If you're listening out there, Brian, props to you. Such a good dude. He's like, as smart as he is, as much as he knows, he even said, he's like, how can you afford to give away 2.5 hours? That's the other thing. I say, budget 90 minutes for the first session. They go, what? So first of all, I'm competitive advantaging. I'm doing stuff that nobody else is doing in the marketplace. People are used to a 30 or a 45 minutes. So when I say 90, they go, huh? Right? And I say, it may not take 90 minutes, but I don't want either of us looking over our shoulder. You're going to experience real coaching. You only get the second session if you like the first one. So that's my way of saying, I'm not going to pitch you after the first session. I'm going to coach you. So show up being ready to get coaching. So there's a readying, there's a conditioning. I'm leading them to how real it is. Now, you said, is there any drop off? Is there any drop off between 1 or 2? Yeah. When people are blown away so much at the 90 minutes where they've had a breakthrough, they see things more clearly. They know themselves better. They know that somebody else can see inside of them. Right. And they're just not ready to do the damn work yet. So they won't set the goals. They won't show up to the second session. Fine. They're not ready yet. Why would I want them to show up if they're not ready? It's just a defunct client. You follow? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense 3 sessions into 12 sessions to talk about refunds and, this isn't working because you're not working.
Right. Amen.
Yeah. So that's more conversation for down the road. But, I'm trying to answer as many of your questions that you jammed in that I remember. So what happens in comp session 1? Very simply, we're transparent, we're interested, and we're complimentary on the path to rapport building. Okay. Then we're further interested on the path to diagnosing or discovering what the epicenter of the coaching assignment might be.
Yeah.
We're instructional when we teach an approach to goal setting that most people haven't learned. And if they have learned it, they haven't really learned it because smart goal setting is kind of dumb. When I break it down and, I added an A and changed the R just on smart goal setting.
Yeah.
I have a whole module on that. Why? But I teach smart goal setting the way I do it, SMAART, only after I've got the 3 things to turn into goals or draft into goals. So there it is. I'm going to build rapport. I'm going to diagnose. I'm going to instruct, and I'm going to assign.
Yeah.
And now you're going to either accept or reject that assignment. If so, in exchange, you get the second free session. And it's in the second complimentary session that I get to be more transactional. Hey, well, first one doesn't repeat itself. We already built rapport. We already diagnosed.
Yeah.
Today, I get to show you what ongoing coaching is like. So first, we're going to check in on wins and challenges. We're going to review your commitments. We're going to create new results, which are the things I'm holding you accountable for next time. And we'll check out. So I get to really take the time to get to know them, see if I earn enough trust, credibility to get them motivated to actually accept an assignment, conduct it, and show up to the second session. And then in that session, I get to really preview for them what the next 12 will be like when they hire me. And now they're not confused. Now they can see it. Now there's so much other stuff built in. When it's time for me to say, do you want me to be your coach? It's a hot knife through warm butter rather than a struggle, an adversarial, on and on and on. And I've usually, by the way, figured out all of the objections. And I don't like that word. Objections I'm going to have to overcome. I don't like that. I've learned all the concerns I'm going to have to address to get them to move forward in the course of the 2.5 hours. So I'm not fighting with them at objection land at the finish line. I've already, authentically, genuinely, lovingly addressed those concerns in the 2.5 hours. So usually at the end, it's really just a matter of, you want half-hour sessions or 60-minute sessions? Do you want to commit to 12 or 24? Do you want to pay up front or do you need a plan? Right? It's easier questions than I need to talk to my wife or some of these other things.
Right, exactly. Well, what I love about that, Jeff, is that you are giving them the true coaching experience. And then the question is not, do I want to hire Jeff as my coach? The real question is, this was awesome. This was fantastic. Do I want to continue? And if you don't want to continue, totally cool. If you want to continue, great. Let's get started.
You're going to love this, David. It's up to 2, and then maybe we're through. It's up to 2, then you'll know what to do. It's up to 2. I bet you'll get a clue.
Oh,
now,
very, very nice.
Thank you. So I can have fun with it, right? But see all that fun? It's up to 2, and then we're through. Or it's up to 2, then you know what to do. Or it's up to 2, then you want a clue. I could say that. You know what I'm really saying? I respect myself and have boundaries. And I'm not going to coach you for free for 3 months and hope you respect me.
Totally amazing. Well, let's go into overtime here because I definitely want to talk about the integrity game.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Talk about where that came from, what's in the book, what motivated you to write the book, and then how is the book impacting the focus of your business?
Yes, it's revolutionary, actually. All right, so let me start from the beginning. The integrity, first of all, let me get into my stand-up. Are you ready? Integrity is kind of like driving or parenting. It's one of these words that everybody thinks they're really good at. It's just everybody else sucks.
It's true.
So accountability, integrity, like these words are synonymous with, most of the time that the word is uttered, it's when somebody is accusing somebody else. So here's a very, very, very simple brand promise. Are you ready? I'm on a mission to make it easy and fun to look within. That's what the integrity game is. The integrity game is going to make it easy and fun to look within. Here's another brand promise. A lot of times people say, oh, that person needs more integrity, or, oh, they have no integrity, or where's the integrity, right? But if you and I went and this like man on the street interview, I'd love to do this with you, by the way. I love your personality. I bet if you and I tag teamed and like we went on the streets of London or New York or whatever and just started asking people, hey, is integrity a problem in our world today? Oh, God, yes. We'd have immediate. It's awesome. What are the first 3 things you would do to teach somebody to grow their integrity? What's your action plan for improving your integrity? What are your self-reflective mechanisms for quality controlling your own integrity? Is there a 10-step process to increasing integrity? This is like the big picture goal of the integrity game is I want it to be tangible. I want it to be actionable. I want it to be a soft skill, not just an adjective. Like I want to expand understanding of integrity and I want to make it easy and fun to look within on building our own, improving our own, increasing our own. And then, of course, for leaders out there, you need to increase your own and those you lead, right? So we want a culture of integrity. A lot of times people will use integrity as a word in their value statement, right? But then why are all the meetings is CYA and manure rolling downhill? You follow? So I don't need to get into the toxicity of corporate culture, but there's wise organizations that want to change things and install healthy culture. So integrity game is headed in those directions. Now, where did it start? As I brainstormed my coaching methodology, like all of us that are in this game, we learn from some, right? And then the extroverts, we put it into our own words. We try to make it different by 10 or 15% to legally, call things our own. So I learned a lot of good stuff in my coach's training. You kind of picked up on. I learned some stuff I didn't care for either. Right. And I said, well, I'm a professor. I'm an instructor. I know how to design curriculum. I know about workbooks, assignments, and so forth. Instead of trying to improve this guy's training, I'm just going to do mine the right way. And funny enough, there's so much improvement I can do on my own. Right. But my point in saying that is in developing the methodology, it's threefold. There's 3 pillars of my vertebrae for coaching and leadership and so forth. And it's engagement, which we talked about. Engagement is getting permission to lead. Right? If I can get you engaged, excited about where you're headed, right? If I'm the vehicle through which you get excited about what you're doing, who you are and what you're doing, you might give me permission to lead you. And then if I get permission to lead, then it's the 2 things, motivation and accountability. So motivation, the subset of motivation is external and internal. If I did 1 million things to motivate somebody, all 1 million would either be an external or an internal, meaning one way to motivate people, like my wife and me cooking for the kids. She can't say, Jeff, cook dinner for the kids, because I'm going out for fast food. You know what I mean? But if she says cook dinner for the kids and the ingredients, the tools, and the instructions are all on the counter, then I'm like, all right, then I'll get in there. Even if I know I might mess it up. But if you give me the resources, I'm going to be more motivated to take action. Okay, so external strategies, tactics, resources. Give me the map, give me the directions, give me a canteen of water, watch me take steps. But if I'm standing in the Sahara Desert and tell me to get out of the Sahara Desert, I'm going to stay put because I don't want to go the wrong direction. I don't want to walk around in circles. It makes sense?
Oh, totally.
So that's, and then internal is the mindset stuff, the checkup from the neck up. What are the words that were being used that give us access to the limiting beliefs, which are probably sustained by emotional addictions that were rooted in a trauma that we can, how do we get in there and change all of that? Okay. So that's motivation, is external and internal, getting people strategies, tactics, and resources and getting them out of their own way. Okay. Now accountability. How does it break down for accountability? What's the 2 subsets of accountability? So this is where the integrity game started. Integrity used to be subordinate to accountability. I used to articulate it in my coaching methodology as a continuum. If we looked at accountability as a continuum, black, white, and then gray in the middle. On the transactional side, and this is what most people think accountability is, do what you say you're going to do. Or that's what most people think integrity is. When I do public speaking on this, how many of you believe you have integrity? And 100% of the hands go up. And then I say, keep your hands up and switch to your right hand if you're left-handed and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear not to shoot the messenger in 30 minutes. Because we're going to, hang on, before I accuse you of having no integrity, let's make sure we agree on what it is. What is integrity? And now I'm getting audience interaction. And they always say the same thing. Two things they'll always say, right? Be your word, do what you say you're going to do. And I pin that, and we'll use that. We'll work with that. What else? Do the right thing when nobody's watching. Okay, we'll pin that up. So those are two answers I always get. Okay. So on the first one, do what you say you're going to do. I think that's transactional accountability. We were on time for the podcast today. The guy that showed up 10:04 to coach me was out of integrity. Punctuality is a function of accountability, is a function of integrity. Right? So the transformational side is more along this, what's the right thing? Do the right thing. What is the right thing? So integrity is all of this. What's your purpose on this earth? What are your gifts? What did God give you? Or what have you cultivated? Or what did somebody else give you? I was given communication skills, but I went and integrated that with a master's degree in communication, right? One time my boss on campus at school lent me $400 to stay in school because I didn't have the money to keep myself in, and he didn't want you to follow. So there's man-made, self-generated, God-given. We need to integrate these gifts into our competitive advantages, right? And then what's our potential? So when you talk about those three things up there, purpose, gifts, and potential, that's not like do what you say you're going to do, right? If I said I was going to drink 18 beers before the podcast and I drank 18 beers before the podcast, would I claim integrity? No. People with a sense of humor would say, well, no, come on. The example's obvious, right? So doing what you say you're going to do isn't enough. What we say we're going to do needs to be integrated with a purpose, a potential, our gifts, right? There's some people that are gifted and they're suffocating them. There's some people that are walking around and they don't know what their purpose is, or they don't know what the meaning of their life is. When I talk about integrity, I talk about integration, the coming together. When we do what we say we're going to do, our word is integrated with behavior. When we do the right thing, regardless of who's watching, our behavior is integrated with a value, a moral, or an ethic, right? So what I got an opportunity, I had these thoughts about integrity. I got an opportunity to do a keynote for I'll give them a plug, not that they're, profit oriented, but the Specialty Advertising Association of California. It was during COVID in August, and I was in Vegas taking care of my dying parents, and I recorded it in a hotel room with the heebie-jeebies. There's one person per elevator ride back then during COVID, but I had to go out and take care of my parents. And I delivered keynotes in hotels before, but this is the first one I'd ever delivered from my room. But of the topics that I gave them engagement, time management, accountability. I gave them sales, persuasion, influence, communication, listening team. I gave them a list of topics. I said, playing the integrity game, I threw it in there just to make the list a little longer and diverse, right? They chose integrity. I'm like, all right, now I got to develop a keynote around this. So from those concepts that I have about transactional versus transformational, I actually developed a 10-point model of integrity. So visualize, if you can for a second, shoelaces. Can you visualize shoelaces? When you're lacing shoes, you put the lace in the hole and you go diagonal, 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 diagonal. Yeah. Now imagine 5 holes on one side and 5 holes on the other side. So the laces are not tying the shoe. We tie the laces. What the laces are doing is integrating the left side with the right side. So when we think about structural integrity, right? A building has structural integrity if what? If it keeps standing despite what? Outside forces. So wind, rain, thunder, earthquake comes along. Even if you drive a car into it, it'll still hold, right? Trade Center, before the airplanes went into them, there's bombs went off in the parking lot. It held. You follow? So the amount of structural integrity is the degree to which we can withstand outside forces and still do what we're supposed to do, what we're built to do, what we're capable of. So why are human beings any different? Why waste a good pandemic? I was arguing.
Yeah.
COVID or no COVID, you still have a purpose in your life, don't you? COVID or no COVID, you're still talented and gifted, aren't you? COVID or no COVID, maybe you have to adjust your potential, but you still must declare one. So here I was basically giving a keynote, trying to encourage people not to forget what they knew about their direction in life just because COVID. Anyway, so I developed a 10-point model, and we want these things to come together. So The book is 10 question sets. So back to the book, The Integrity Game, it's a parable. It's set to baseball, right? And I wrote it while I was mourning. I gave the keynote while my parents were about to die, right? And I started writing the book in mourning. My parents were out of COVID now. My son's playing baseball. He's about to go off to college in, a year or so. And so it's a memoir piece for me. It's a legacy piece for me. There's characters in this book that are kind of my kids' names tweaked a little bit. Yeah. And that my characteristics of my kids are in characters in this book, but also there's characters of all of us, right? So there's a season ticket holder at a game, his son who just made the team as a rookie, and they're at the end of the game and the rookie's up to try to get a hit to tie the game to send it into extra innings. And the hot dog vendor doesn't have as much ambition, wanted to hang out with his buddies, doesn't want it to go into extra innings. And the season ticket holder hears him cheering against the home team and his son, right? First of all, he's cheering against his son. Second of all, he's cheering against the home team. So they strike up a little conversation. Hey, isn't it a little out of integrity to cheer against the home team? Plus, this rookie needs all of our help. Baseball's just a game. And what does integrity have to do with it? 12 chapters later, you're right. The season ticket holder has taken the hot dog vendor on the 10-point journey. And it's all story form. There's some plot twists along the way. And that's the Trojan horse that I want to use to get teams and individuals and companies playing the integrity game, right? To increase their level of integrity, which increases everything. And it's very simple. There's 10 sets of questions: purpose, meaning, gifts and advantages, potential, goals, strategies, tactics, resources, right? Word and commitment, action taking, learning and growth, accomplishment, and service. So I lay those out. That's the 10-point model. Those are the 10 things. The process of playing the integrity game is understanding the 10 questions, struggling with coming up with answers to them, and then struggling further, making sure the answers enhance rather than dilute each other. You'll only get so far working on this yourself. You're going to need a sounding board. You're going to need, do you follow? Yeah. So the integrity game can be played in 2-player game in coaching, multiplayer game and group coaching. I want to certify integrity game speakers, coaches, and trainers. So we're creating the certification process and getting that ICF. Who knows how long it'll take, but we're going to get that blessed by International Coach Federation so that when people are learning from me, it counts as credits towards whatever they want to get from ICF. And we're moving in that direction, and the integrity game, Get a Clue was my brand to get this all started. I wrote a book called Get a Clue in 52, and you can see the cartoon nature of how I would market myself to solopreneurs. But integrity game is a bigger fish. The integrity game is a bigger brand for associations, corporations, high performance individuals, teams. Have you heard of EOS? Sure. Entrepreneur, right? And IDS, information decision systems and so forth. Well, why not be the first person to promise a systematic approach to developing soft skills? It's a systematic soft skill system or a soft skill system. I don't have all the words figured out yet, but this is where I'm headed, where I want to make increasing integrity fun, easy, actionable, systematic, and replicable.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm on to. We'll see how well I do.
Wait. We're not just going to listen to this episode. There are downloads, there are resources, there are links, there are bonuses waiting for you on this episode's page when you go over to doitmarketing.com/podcast. That's right, doitmarketing.com/podcast. Grab the notes right under this episode. See you over there. I want to wrap up with 2 final questions.
Yeah.
The final question is, how can people get connected and stay connected to more Jeff Klubeck brilliance? But before we get to that, if folks were to take one core concept from our whole conversation, which has been far-ranging and just value bomb after value bomb after value bomb, but if they were to take one core thing away with them, what do you hope that one thing would be?
We judge ourselves by intent and we judge others by action, right? So when it comes to key things that our world desperately needs right now, such as integrity, I would encourage you to look within before you judge others. And when you judge others, judge them by their intentions rather than just the action. And then make a commitment to increase your integrity. Instead of accusing others of not having it, replace all of that energy with efforts to increase your own. The trick question, David, is I'll say, how many of you believe you have integrity? Everybody raises their hand.
Yeah.
Well, that's a trick question because the truth is we all have some, we all need more. Don't let the fact that we all have some trick you into thinking that you don't need more. And so tell me if you could finish the sentence, right? To close out. We've all heard it before. If you're not growing, you are, I see all the books in your background. If you're not growing, you're what?
Dying.
Okay. So I want to replace that with if you are not integrating, you're disintegrating. So every second of our day is eligible to be examined for whether or not we're integrating or disintegrating. Are we bringing these answers to these 10 questions together? Are we moving towards or away from our potential, our goals, our gifts? Are we using our strengths and our gifts with the world? Or are we hiding from them? It'd be neat. What would happen in this world, right? If everybody, instead of just being blown around like a feather in the wind, actually had structural integrity, answers about their own lives, that when things come around, we keep standing and we keep doing what we're meant to do. We keep doing what we're built to do in this world, despite any outside forces, that we are 100% responsible for ourselves and what our lot in life is. And we're not perfect. For human beings, I don't think we ever have 100% integrity until we die, right? But we can get better. And if we're not trying to increase our integrity by default, it's the laws of physics. We're dying. So we're either integrating or we're disintegrating.
Totally amazing. Jeff, tell people how they can get connected and stay connected to more of what you're up to, the book, the website, some gifts that we have for people. We're going to put all of this in the show notes. So you're going to have the direct links to all of this. But Jeff, where do you want people to go?
Okay. I'm easy to find. I'm easy to find. Just Jeff Klubeck and stuff will come up. KLUBECK. Beyond that, getaclue.net, GETAKLU.net is the website that we're about to get away from. It's the website that captures everything I tried to do last 15 years. The new brand, of course, is theintegritygame.com. So it's getaclue.net or theintegritygame.com. The Integrity Game is available right now on Amazon for $7. But if people contact me directly somehow and mention your show, I'd be more than happy to send a copy or a signed copy for anybody, And then on both the Integrity Game and Get a Clue, these 2 comp sessions that we talked about, there's a form that you could click to fill out to apply, if you will, to submit for 2 complimentary coaching sessions. And if people mention your show, I'm going to pay attention to those and try to do those myself. Otherwise, I've got a team of coaches that I've been training to conduct the methodology, and it's at least $1,000 worth of value to get 2.5 hours with myself or one of my coaches. So beyond that, I just want people to look within and consider it easy and fun. And if I can help you laugh while you're looking within to increase your integrity, then I want to play with you.
Well, Jeff Klubeck, you are a good dude. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being on with us today. And people are going to have to re-listen. You have to rewind, back up the truck, listen to this episode at least 2 more times, and connect with Jeff, get a copy of the book, and y'all are going to thank me later. The links, by the way, to everything that Jeff mentioned are going to be directly under this episode at thesellingshow.com. There's one-click access, the book, the old website, the new website, all of those goodies are going to be directly under this episode. Go check it out at thesellingshow.com. Jeff Klubeck, you're a rock star, and I appreciate you.
David, it takes one to know one. Thank you, my friend.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.